Chief of Fire Prevention, Chief Patrick Lally.
Commissioner of Permit and Inspection Services, Kathy Amdur, CATHYAMDUR.
So today we had a alarm of fire come in at 12:17 in the afternoon, and first two companies came in to investigate. They found fire on the second floor of Paul William Belts, a 3-story building that was built in the mid-60s. Not necessarily, didn't have to be sprinkler back then, and also no standpipes. So they laid in lines, and 12:17, they went to a second alarm at 12:24, followed by a third and a fourth alarm going off at 1:04. They laid in lines, fought aggressively, backed out because of the conditions. The fire moved from the second to the third to the fourth, or to the roof, I'm sorry. And currently the fire is still not under control, but they do have both buildings on either side. What we would call the 2 and the 4 exposures are protected and safe as we roll right now. There's 4 alarm companies, so there's approximately 100 men and women for the Buffalo Fire Department fighting the fire currently.
What can you tell us about any injuries? Is anyone hurt? Is everyone okay?
Currently, there are no injuries. Both exposure buildings, everyone's self-evacuated. The main fire building, as far as we know, currently everyone's self-evacuated, and as far as we know right now, no fire department injuries either.
All right, did any of those folks that came out tell you how this started?
We do not know any cause or origin as of now because the fire is still not under control, so they're still working on that. As soon as the fire is knocked down, they will start a full investigation.
Nobody said anything like we left something in the microwave or something like that?
I do not know.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that it would have started in the kitchen?
Does sound like it may have started in the kitchen on the second floor. I cannot confirm that though. I have not been in the building.
But you were talking about the buildings on either side, and there's a great deal of interest. Both of them historic.
Absolutely.
What's the status of them again?
Currently, they're both fine.
Yeah.
We actually have lines laid into both buildings, as the commissioner will talk about. So we have fire crews in both buildings next door on the number 2 and number 4 side exposure, with live lines with firemen watching the walls just in case something were to happen through any openings that there was and there's no issue right now whatsoever.
What is burning so much? I mean, I hear it's a law firm, lots of paper.
Lots of paper. So an office building, right? Papers, desks, everything that you would find in your typical business class office is a huge contents fire. And again, because it was built as an office, as specifically a 3-story office building in the mid-60s, there was no need for sprinklers or standpipes. So the men and the women of the Buffalo Fire Department are doing an amazing job right now. But you know, a newer building with sprinklers, it would have been a different story, but that's not the case from when it was built and the situation it was built in.
Was the office open at the time?
It was.
How many people were in there or had to evacuate?
We do not know that number right now. I got called in. The commissioners and the guys that are on scene are working diligently, making sure that the fire gets under control first. Then they will start a full investigation as to specific numbers and the specific cause and origin.
It looks like they were breaking through the window. Were they trying to break through some sort of cinder block or brick or something?
There is some issues up on the 3rd floor that we're not exactly aware of yet. We're looking into it as they go. But yes, there's an issue where they're trying to have a hard time hitting the seat of the fire.
Earlier this afternoon, a lot of the crews were backing everybody up. Can you just talk about that precaution there?
Sure.
What was happening?
So when the first 2 engine company got in and they went up with the first 2 truck and the chief, they found the fire conditions on the 2nd floor, and the conditions became untenable very quickly. And so, meaning pre-backdraft kind of, and so they backed out to go defensive, and that's when the fire was allowed to go from the 2nd to the 3rd to the roof.
Some of the buildings surrounding have already been evacuated as well. How much has the wind affected that as far as hearing?
Not crazy with the wind, but both buildings right now are safe on either side of it.
It's supposed to rain like hell in about an hour. Would that help?
No.
I know
Unfortunately.
I know it's early to tell here, but I mean, looking at this building right now, do you foresee it deeming it as a total loss?
I couldn't speak to that. That would be a commissioner issue.
If you want to, sorry.
So we are always looking at public safety first. Obviously, Buffalo Fire Department is here for safety. When I heard it was this building on fire, immediately, the Guarantee building came to mind. We know this is a treasure of the city of Buffalo, a national treasure, one of the first skyscrapers, incredibly important building from a historic point of view. So obviously, life safety is always first. After that, are these buildings okay? Right now, there is no anticipated danger to either the Guarantee building or the Verizon building on the other side of the fire. As the fire chief said, they have water lines charged in the buildings, both the Guarantee building and the Verizon building, with firefighters standing by. So God forbid the fire did start to spread to those buildings, it could be put out quickly. So we do not see any danger right now to the Guarantee building or the Verizon building. In a supporting role, the Department of Permit and Inspection Services we're bringing in an excavator so that if the fire department needs help accessing hot spots, we can help and get in there. We may need to turn off fuel, natural gas to the area, so we ask businesses and residents around the area to be patient with us, and we will keep you informed of any anticipated outings of gas. So please be patient while we deal with this and put out the fire, and obviously life safety first, and then saving these historic treasures, making sure they're not in danger.
Commissioner,
You have a question
Yeah,
though?
there was some, well, I guess we'll go back to two here. So do we foresee this building being a possible total loss? And then there's also been some concern about asbestos, if you can address that.
So there's no way of knowing these things until we deal with the dangerous situation first. First, we want to stop the spread of fire. The fire department is all hands on deck right now. They're professionals who are going to take care of this situation. Then we'll assess the condition of the building at that point.
Commissioner, can you explain the situation with the sprinkler system again? There was no sprinklers in the building, is that correct?
There were not sprinklers in the building, and I haven't had a chance to go back and look at the records, but most likely it was built prior to, in an older code where that would not have been required.
And they would have been grandfathered in to not have to have that?
Well, it also has to do with the height of the building, so there's a few considerations, but it would have been built as a code compliant building when it was constructed.
Just to follow up on my colleague's question, and the folks over there got an email that got evacuated from the old cop shop there, the apartments, and they said because of concerns about asbestos burning. Can either one of you confirm that, or is that a concern that there's asbestos in that vintage 1960s building, and that's a concern?
Anytime there's a fire in the city, we would always, ask people to not be in the area if they don't have to for any reason. No one wants to breathe in smoke. At this point, we do not have a current asbestos survey of the building. While it's possible that there may have been some asbestos-containing materials in the building, at this point, we do not know that, and it's like any other fire that we would experience in the city.
Any questions?
One more. Could someone just explain, because every time we look, the smoke looks different. It gets thinner and white, and then it gets darker. Can you explain, what's happening and why that's changing?
I'm not an expert on fires. I'll defer to the fire chief.
So the main body of fire seems like currently it started on the second floor right in the middle, and it's a very hard building to access that fire because of the building on the left side and right side, which we would call the number 2 and number 4 side. So we're mostly fighting the fire from above right now because it burned through the roof, and we're not always hitting the seat of the fire. So sometimes we're knocking the fire down as we're trying to, because we're not in there currently. We're not risking. There's no life safety issue in the building, so there's no firemen in that one building, the main structure, currently. So we're fighting it from outside. So sometimes you're not always hitting the seat of the fire. When you're hitting the seat of the fire, we're getting steam. That's the white smoke. When you're seeing darker smoke, that's materials in the building, that fire load that is currently burning.
And has the part of that building collapsed in there at all? One of the floors?
It hadn't when last I was over there. So there was no collapse that we weren't intentionally deconstructing safely as we're working to get access of water to the fire. I haven't turned around since I've been over here, so.
I've been looking.
Can you just talk about the scene right now and what you're seeing? Because unfortunately, we've seen massive fires like this in downtown Buffalo in less than a year.
So every fire, Buffalo is an older city, and so every older city in America has fires that we deal with the situation. Buildings were built under different codes. Sprinklers are a godsend, and they weren't required back in 1965. So I think we just deal with fires as they come. The men and women of the Buffalo Fire Department do an amazing job to keep the residents of the city of Buffalo safe and everyone that comes from greater Western New York. And that's what you're seeing right here, is you're seeing a great effort of a 4-alarm fire, 100 plus men and women. We've backfilled the city So we call in reserve men and women to work overtime to backfill the city so that every neighborhood in the city is currently safe, so no one's at a greater risk because of what's going on here. There are people out there to keep everyone else safe from any other emergency.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Pat. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
All right.